Okay, we on our way to our second, because I didn't bring y'all along for the first one. It was a little, you know, risque, but my second Mushie Buddy vending opportunity. The mushroom community has been so good to me. This is my second vending opportunity for Mushie Buddy. The first one, I only got one sale, but I didn't care because I got a sale. Like, granted, my Mushie Buddy gear that I sold at TRIIIIIIPPPPP, it did really well. Was very proud of that, but like, to have a table, be a vendor, completely different experience, and I loved it. It gave me an opportunity to get my feet wet. It gave me an opportunity to see, okay, I need to be quick with my setup and my takedown, because when it's time to skedaddle, we out. Today, I am going to my second one, and I'm going to bring y'all along with me. It's going to be very informative. There are going to be other people in mushroom spaces and cultivation spaces, not only with just mushrooms, but with other things as well, from like gardening to like cannabis. It's gonna be good. So I'm excited to be taking y'all along with me, and yeah, bring your ass. Let's go.
Yeah, so you're gonna press that black part onto your lip, and when you press, inhale.
They're stretching, but they're really mature, and they're wanting the light, so they're hungry. They want to do their thing. When we put them into the cup all the way down, we're giving them room to develop their root system, and then they're not going to be so floppy. So,
I was gonna say, I want to do it too.
This is the questions I want to hear. I wasn't sure what down. Absolutely. This is a kale. So dinosaur kale. So I want to like dance my house. Kale? Yeah.
Did this derive from the real dinosaurs?
Yep.
So this is kale.
Yeah, this is kale.
Yeah, so you could it's called dinosaur kale because the leaf looks like a dinosaur.
Who's my favorite kale?
It's really good. But essentially, you can eat them like this. This is a microgreen to what your question was about sprouts. You can.
Okay, so what are we doing?
Yes, in this. This is zinnias, and these are.
This is kale. This is
zinnias.
I wanted to grow
That's a
roots.
flower?
Yeah.
Oh, the one you had. And so we're just taking one and putting it in our soil.
Actually,
Okay, I like this one. This looks kind of pretty.
Yep. Awesome. I'm glad.
Oh, am I getting caught? I'm getting caught. Okay, you said make a hole and perfect. Yes. Thank you for figuring it for me.
An introduction to how you grow your own food.
It's like one.
So there's a couple different lessons here that we're doing. We're transplanting seedlings. We're getting to know how you can enjoy them. No problem.
And we're having fun.
Say that one more time.
So we are doing a little tutorial about how you can transplant seedlings. We want people to really understand how they can grow their own food. So they have to get familiar with the little babies that happen after you sprout your seeds. Now, basically, you're a little kid, you're growing, and you need more space in your room, right? So you're going to be doing your own thing in your own room.
Yeah.
Basically, put it all the way down.
Getting to puberty.
Exactly. Mom, this is my room now. Get out.
What's your other? Need a
Grow
big
Mom
mirror.
Chicago, please. No, just double.
Real models. And it's got a purple
Alright, I'm really glad you actually are interested in this. Just does everyone have? Is everyone good? Or would you like one? So we're doing. So there's a couple different fundamentals here, and this is kind of why it's fun because then it's, this is like, okay, you don't have a backyard, you don't have whatever, but you have a little cup, and it's the simulation of what else you can do. So again, it's just like we were kind of like doing a little science experiment here. So these are kale, dinosaur kale. basically just put a finger down, make it a hole all the way down, and essentially what you're doing is you're using the soil to give them the proper support that they need, right? So now, you know, these are all dangly and stuff, but now look at mine, right? Now they're looking good. You can take some more soil if you want.
Looks so perfect.
Ta-da! Yeah, so it just needs to be packed all the way down. So if you want to, here, just take this No, you're good.
Wiggle your cup. Yes.
Exactly.
I was just gonna say we're all grounding as a group right now.
And it's also very important. You guys got to talk to your little plants.
Yes. I let them continue.
We finna listen to trap music later.
Plant Chicago over here around the corner
like to plant the little
also
dance.
gives away a lot of compost. You can go over there with a bucket.
Again, there's no holes here, so this is the best part about it. We're essentially just going to water it once for like 2 weeks. Yeah, so right now, what it is it's about it's really hydrophobic. So right now, what it means is like the soil is repelling the water. So we're only putting a little bit. Essentially, the concept here is it's still hydrating. So let's just say what happens is you're going to whatever houseplant you have. It's going to, let's say one day it's dry. You're going to measure it with your hands. You're going to measure the weight of what that feels like. So to me, this is almost fully hydrated, maybe a little bit more. So as you're seeing, there's dry dirt here, right? So it's still repelling the water, and then there's this moist dirt that's nice and dark that's actually soaking in the water. So because there's no soil, although the soil doesn't want to absorb the water, because there's no holes, it's gonna soak up all this soil. So it's basically what this is called, is like bottom watering. Essentially, that water level is gonna slowly soak into the soil. So again, I'm gonna pass this around, but basically what happens is whatever plant you have, let's say it's fully saturated, I'm gonna pick it up, I'm gonna say, okay, that's like 1 pound, to just say it's not actually 1 pound, but you're gonna get a mental note of what that feels like. And so you're essentially, can I get one who's not? Well, we'll do the difference, all right? So one that isn't, right? This is totally dry, it needs water. You can tell you can tell the weight difference. So essentially, you want to make sure that you're going back and forth from both of those type of hydrations. You're gonna be fully saturated and dry. So I'm not gonna water it until this feels like this. Does that make sense? And now that's what you're gonna do, whether you're taking care of a houseplant or you're taking care of your little seedlings, you want to go between that period. But the best part, again, because there's no holes, you don't have to worry about it. So you're not going to drown or anything. Just take a mental note of how that feels. So just pass these around and just tell the difference. Fully saturated, doesn't even work.
About how long do you keep it in this little cup for?
Basically, just till it keeps growing. So essentially, you want to do it is put it under a light, a grow light, like the ones that we have here. But you can do a windowsill. Essentially, kind of what's good about this is these are cold hardy. So as the soil or as the seasons change, they're going to be okay. So these are flower plants. These flowers aren't going to work, but these will be okay. So if you put it by the window and then you start kind of taking it outside, you can technically raise this little kale. And that's your first seedling. Essentially, those kind of ideas are what's necessary. The other thing you say, and then you do is this. You do like a little greenhouse effect here. So now I'm just doing this. So now this sweet little seedling has all it needs. It's going to get all the humidity because the one that was hydrated. And essentially just like that, just like a little greenhouse. So now this little plant has everything it needs for at least 2 weeks. Again, you're going to need to give them some sort of light, but essentially this is kind of a great way to start. You don't have all this space, you don't have all this stuff, that's fine, but you're getting the fundamentals of how to take care of plants, and that's really kind of where you want to start off. This is your journey for now, and then you start evolving and getting more interested in how it's happening. But again, there's not really much of a mystery here. It's really just a couple different things. It's high humidity and warmth, and that little seedling is going to start growing.
Give it up for Dan of the garden. You're all agriculturalists. I'm going to check in on each and every one of you and see how long you keep this plant. This is your test. You can keep a plant alive, you can keep a baby alive.
When I get to the house, I'll be
I
obviously outside there's not a whole lot of growing going on. So what I specialize in home growing build outs and home growing consultations, right? Things to consider. How do we bring the sunlight inside the house long enough for my plants to grow, right? Because, right, principally what you need to grow your plant is you need an energy source, your light, you need water, you need airflow and humidity, right? I think Dan kind of hit on some of those things. But how do we get from this little seedling to something a little bit more developed to something that will eventually bear fruit, whether it's cannabis or actual fruit? So there's a wide range of ways to be able to do this in an indoor environment. One of the main things that you need to consider is cost, right? Next to cost, it's going to be space. Where's the space that I'm going to do, and how much can I reasonably expect to get out of this space, right? So all of these things come into consideration when you're going to grow indoors. One of the things that I think that you should not skimp on is for sure your light source, right? Because your light source is your energy, right? And it's one of the more difficult things to manage in an indoor environment. The cheaper the light, the more you're going to end up paying in terms of long-term costs, like your energy bill, right? Because the cheaper lights require more energy to output less energy, if that makes sense, right? So the more you pay for your light, that means I take less energy and I output more, right? And that's just a matter of fact with the light industry. Indoors, I highly recommend LED lights. The reason I highly recommend LED lights is because the amount of heat that they generate for the amount of energy that they output, it's not that high. As opposed to other indoor lights, which are like fluorescent or HPS, those will burn hotter. So one of the biggest challenges with running hotter lights is managing the temperature of your plants. With almost all your plants, okay, with the exceptions of special varieties and special parts of the world, they like the same average temperature and the same average humidity that you like. So if you're in a space and the space is too hot, it's probably too hot for your plant too. And that's gonna affect the output of your plant. So again, one of the things that when you're considering your space, don't go cheap on the lights. Stay away from the $50 or $60 lights on Amazon because those are gonna cost you a lot more in the long run. The other thing is depending on your space, in terms of humidity and managing the temperature, you're gonna want a humidifier, or in this case, this one's kind of like a mini swamp cooler. So I used to use this for my small plants when I was germinating in those small environments, because I could just throw ice in here and the fan would keep the temperature down for my plants, and it works perfect for your seedlings, for your plants when you're getting started. The other thing, right now you just planted something like this with Dan. So the next step in this is keeping this in a place where I can increase the humidity, right? So you're gonna wanna cover it. The other thing that's gonna help you to increase the humidity here is a heat pad, right? This, you can go cheap on Amazon. It's just something that you wanna be able to provide enough heat to your soil so that it can generate that evaporation, that humidity inside of this dome, okay? The only thing that I would caution with using a heat pad or a heat source is to make sure that on the end you have a timer so that it only runs when there's no light in your room, because the chances are that the light in your room is going to provide enough heat when it's on. This thing should only turn on whenever the lights come on.